Welcome back. I'm joined right now by the head coach of the Cal State East Bay men's basketball team, Bryan Rooney. Thank you for joining me, Coach.
Thanks, Danny. Great to be with you.
Well, great. We just want to hear a little bit about your team. You're one of those teams right now. The Pioneers actually have 7 games under their belt. And let's be honest, you got that first win in the CCAA, so that has to feel a little bit good there. But let's just talk a little bit about your team and what you've maybe learned about your team through the first 7 games of the season.
Well, yeah, I feel like it's been a whirlwind in these first couple of weeks. A lot of games and against a lot of quality opponents, and certainly including opening up the conference play with Dominguez Hills. And I think one of the things, we're a very new team in terms of not a lot of experience in terms of starting games or returning scores or whatever it might be. We felt very good about the group that was returning and very good about the group that we brought in with our recruiting class. And I'm very pleased with how we've come together. We've gone through some adversity in terms of playing, again, some nationally ranked teams and playing some very high quality programs. But I've been very excited about kind of one of the things that's been consistent with our team is we just keep getting better and better. And I think that's going to be something hopefully we'll hang our hat on as we progress throughout the entire season.
Fantastic. And the other one, you mentioned that a little bit, but just talking about the quality of those opponents. You're basically your entire non-conference schedule was against teams that were in the West Regional last year. Just
Right.
how do you hope that helps you prepare, and what lessons can your teams learn out of those games?
Well, I think the first thing it speaks to is the quality of teams in the West region. I think anybody that you play is going to be good. And so I think when we look to build our schedule kind of from the conference challenge on, is we wanted to play teams that gave us a variety of styles and be able to see teams that were, would get up and down and press. We wanted to go against teams that would zone, because one of the things I think is the strength of our conference is there are multiple styles throughout the 12 teams and the 11 teams that we're going to play against. And so we want to give our guys an understanding of high quality of play, but also different styles that we were going to see so that we can be ready for the different challenges that we were going to face, in conference play.
Absolutely. And it did look, at least from the numbers that I'm seeing, you had 8 players averaging 16 minutes a game. So it seems like you're exposing quite a few of your roster. Is that something you're trying to do to build depth? Is that just trying to build depth, or is it a health thing? Why were you playing so many guys early in the season?
Well, I think it's going to be consistent throughout the entire season. To be honest with you, I think one of our strengths is our versatility and our depth to a degree. We have multiple guys that can play different positions, and how we attack offensively and defensively, we think is going to be reflective of that. And so we've told our guys, we have 7 to 9 guys we think can start games for us, and we feel very comfortable in going into whatever game that might be. And sometimes that's dictated by matchups and who the other team has and the strengths of who we start and how we're trying to go in our approach. But I feel good about our depth, and I think we have a good balance. We have some guys that are new to our program but have experience at the college level, experience at the 4A level, and then we have 3 guys in the rotation right now that are playing their first 7 games of college basketball as freshmen. And so the balance of that in having guys that have experience at the level, but also having guys that we feel, even though this is kind of their first taste of college basketball, have the talent, but also kind of the fit in terms of what we try to do. And I'm excited to see the different pieces come together so far and certainly going forward.
You talked about a lot of the experience, some of the guys, gaining that as they're newer to the program. The other part I look at is in your preseason schedule. You guys played a fair number of close games, ones that came down to 2 or 3. 3 was a big number in there, but possession games. How do those games help you prepare and maybe get you up to speed a little quicker?
No, I think it's a great point. It's huge. I mean, you go back to our second game of the season. We're playing Point Loma, which is obviously one of the top teams in the region, and it's a 2-point game with a minute to go, and we have to learn how to win. And even though we want to learn from winning all the time, sometimes you learn by going through some adversity. And so I look at a game like that, or a game like Colorado School of the Mines, which I think is one of the best teams in the RMAC, and do those experiences help prepare us for Dominican, right? Our last non-conference game and going to double overtime? I absolutely think so. And then really importantly, going into our conference opener, we're down 9 at halftime against a very, very good Dominguez Hills team. And I think if we don't go through those experiences in the preseason, it's harder for us to come in that locker room and say, hey, we're right there. We got to clean some things up, but we feel good if we can stick together. We can be there at the end. And that's what ended up happening. And so, again, going back to your question of the non-conference, we want to prepare ourselves so that we got into conference play, we would be ready for as many challenges as we would face. And I think some of those you just have to learn. You just have to go through. And especially with a new group, we can practice all we want. And coaches love practice, but there's nothing like game reps or nothing like game experience. And we were able to get those. And hopefully those will serve us well going forward.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump ahead to one of my questions then. So obviously you start your first game on November 11th. What has surprised you? What has been the biggest surprise of your team once you've got into actual play this year?
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily surprised me, but it's definitely pleased me in the standpoint of we're a pretty new group, as we talked about. And so one of the things as a coach, you wonder how quickly we'll come together, how cohesive will the group be? And I think a great example, for us was, going back to we started multiple, lineups, and we had some guys that, came off the bench against Dominguez Hills. Kevin, comes to example. He scored 16 and I think is a difference maker, in the game. And sometimes guys, they worry about their role and which understandably so, but he'd started games for us earlier in the season, but didn't bat an eye. I'm coming off the bench. I'm going to make an impact. And then you look at a guy like, Grady Lewis, who redshirted for us, last year and, now is, in my opinion, one of the top post players in the conference. And I don't think that happens, number one, without the hard work that he puts in, but it also has to do with the trust and the faith that his teammates have. And so to have a new group really buy into one another has been something that I've been thrilled about, and I think it's going to help us, going forward.
Thank you very much. All right. So this is the insight that we need from a coach. I can look through a box score, I can look through a stat sheet and see the numbers where I think you guys have been good. But tell me something that doesn't show up in the box score or the stat sheet that is a strength of the Pioneers this year.
Yeah, I think it goes to our versatility. I think you referenced earlier in terms of kind of where our minute breakdown, goes in terms of multiple guys averaging, double figure minutes. So I think that from our depth, but also the versatility. I think when we think about our offensive attack, we're not really just a one guy is going to go get us 30 on that night. We're going to go get him, 20, 25 shots. It's not really how our offense is designed. And I think also too, when you think about defensively, especially the way the game is right now and, ball screens and the other teams are going to put 5 very good players against us every night, being able to be versatile on the defensive end. So I would say that our depth and our versatility. And I think intangibly, kind of continuing with that theme, is this is a pretty tight group. This is a group that cares about one another. This is a group that is going to continue to grow because of, their belief in one another, and kind of, to use that term, having each other's back. And so, again, I think sometimes when coaches talk about strengths, to your point, you can look at the statistics, but I think with this group, it really goes, beyond that. And I think that raises our ceiling to who we can be.
Thank you very much. All right. So let's say it's mid-February and somebody from the GNAC is scouting your team. What do you want them saying is the identity of the Pioneers on the court?
Yeah, I think, we have a kind of our mantra this year is to be unbroken. And we knew going into the season, just like all teams, that there are going to be things that are going to test us, both, internally, externally, things we can control, things that we can't. And so our biggest focus is making sure that no matter what happens, good times or bad times, we are unbroken. And we just kind of keep pounding away, at that stone. And so I hope if somebody sees us in February, but shoot, I hope when somebody sees us on Thursday against a very good, Sonoma State team, that they see a group that's going to stick together when things are going well. But, probably as importantly and probably more importantly, when things are going the other way. And so I'm hoping in February they'll see that, but hopefully that's from here on out as well.
So what steps can your team take to get better, to be better on March 1st than it is on December 1st?
I think huge consistency. We've had some times and stretches of our first 7 games where I think we played really good basketball. And then we've had some other times when we've been up and down. And I think a huge thing that comes back to it is both individually and collectively of just being the same guy, being the same team. And I think that's something early on is to be expected, is that consistency can kind of be up and down. But that's our biggest quest. We get into practice today. Our goal will be the same thing. It has been in every practice, is to have the best practice of the year. And then tomorrow it'll be that same goal again, to be better than we were the day before. And so I think if we can do that and be as consistent as we possibly can with the players that we have, then I think that we give ourselves a chance, in each game. And that's the beauty of our conference. Phenomenal coaches, really good players. Is if you can be consistent, if we can be consistent, we feel like we're going to give ourselves a shot every night. At the same time, if we're not, then anybody in the conference, is going to beat us. And so that's the nerve-wracking part about it, but also the very exciting thing about being the CC2A.
Good, good. You mentioned goals there a little bit. I'd like to know which ones you're willing to share. You don't have to say any or all of them, but what have been the goals that you set out for your team, or maybe your team set out for itself to accomplish this CCA season?
Well, I think huge, obviously the tangible. We want to be a program that's playing in the postseason. I think when you look at the trajectory of where we were, we get, kind of put it plainly, we were affected by COVID with some of the things there, and kind of pre-COVID, we're on a pretty good track. I think we took a step backwards last year, and we're excited to kind of take the next jump up and kind of get back to where we were, and hopefully take a step up there and be in the postseason. And I think overall, as cliched or coach speak, as I tell our guys sometimes, but just that idea of, we have 3 goals that we talk about, every single day. And one of them is to win the day, but also one of them is to have more fun than anybody in America. And what we do is serious. We take it very seriously. We work hard, as everybody does. But I think it's important for us, coaches and players, not to forget that the game should be fun. When we're playing and we're getting after it, we should do so with a joy. And so again, that's a bit intangible, sometimes hard to put a finger on it. But going back to your question, if somebody were to watch us play, I hope they're watching a team that's having a whole lot of fun, doing some positive things together.
Fantastic, Coach. Well, just thank you very much for just taking a couple minutes to just share the insight into your program. Right now, as we mentioned before, it's nice that you already got that first CCA win under your belt, and you guys have the opportunity to host 2 teams coming in this weekend. I know coaches never look ahead. I understand that one, but I got to say it's Sonoma and then Humboldt will be coming in. So hopefully you can keep your momentum rolling, and we will have a chance to speak again, hopefully at March, heading over to Turlock.
That would be awesome. Danny, thanks so much for your time and give us the opportunity to speak with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time as well.